say you are listening to, you are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you very much. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. You are listening to the George Espinlove Show. Thank you. Coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. We don't know where that is. We have no idea. We just live here. No specific mailing address. We don't even have a mailbox. We just live here, and that's fine with us. It's safer in our world than it is in yours. So come in, sit down, prop your feet up, relax, and become a full-fledged loon just like the rest of us. To you that are listening down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, I welcome you to the show tonight. We have an exciting guest that's going to be on in just a few seconds, and she is going to talk about, we're going to talk about a whole lot of things, and I think you are going to find it so very informative and entertaining. Let's bring her on. Let me hit my magic buttons here. Karna, welcome to the George Espinlove Show. Hello?
Hello there. It's great to be with you.
Oh, it's our honor and privilege to have you. Thank you very much for taking time to come and be with us.
Mm-hmm. You got it. This is terrific, and I guess we're talking to folks all across the spectrum and perhaps even overseas. Is that right?
Yes, we have listeners in the Philippines, Italy, the UK, across the nation, people just down the street, and people just around the corner. The audience is growing, and we're just excited.
Well, that's terrific. It's so nice to be with you. So if you have a lot of questions for me tonight, I am raring to go to chat with you.
All right. Could you give us a little bit of your background?
Well, of course. My name is Karna Bodman, and I began my career as a TV news reporter and anchor, first in San Francisco, did a little work in L.A., and then in Washington, D.C. After that, I had the honor of working in the White House for President Reagan. Obviously, that was a while ago, but my first job was Deputy Press Secretary. After that, I switched to foreign policy, and my final job was Senior Director and Spokesman for the National Security Council. Later, I did work in the private sector for a while, but more recently, I've been writing political thrillers. I have 4 novels out right now. Each one was really inspired by time that I worked in the White House, because each one focuses on a different threat to our national security, at least the way I see it. And they're not about Al-Qaeda. These are all different stories. And so my new book that just came out recently is called Castle Bravo. That one, I was very happy. I got some word recently that it won an award at the Paris Book Festival. I didn't get over there to get it or anything, but it was kind of nice, something you put on your website. And if anyone's interested in kind of checking out some of these books, hey, Christmas is coming up, for gifts or something. I do have a website. It's my name, KarnaBodman.com. It's kind of a strange name, Karna. The last name is Bodman, like your bod, Bodman, KarnaBodman.com. All the books are there. As I say, Castle Bravo is the new one. And sometimes people will send me an email, which is listed there on the website, because I'm happy to send anyone an autographed book plate, little paper book plates, with my logo on them. And then you just peel off the backing, stick it inside a book, and there you've got an autographed book for yourself or perhaps for a Christmas gift coming up, something like that. So I'm happy to hear from readers, and I do get emails all the time. I try to answer every single one when I can.
When you can.
Absolutely.
In your spare time, right?
Well, yes. right now there isn't very much of that, but because I have been pretty busy talking about Castle Bravo. Of course, authors have to do what they can to get the word out when there's a new book. Obviously, some people use social media, some people use radio shows or internet shows such as yours. So I'm very glad to be on with you tonight, George. A lot of other people have a more personal approach. I also do a lot of speeches around the country. I've probably done, I have to go back and count. I think we're close to 300 for groups around the country, conventions, political groups, church groups, Rotary, newcomers, AAUW, you name it. I've probably spoke to one of their clubs, which is great fun. You get a lot of questions about writing. How do you get published these days? What was it like to work in the Reagan White House? When did you decide you want to be a writer? You know, all those kinds of questions. And if any of your listeners want to chat with us, hey, I'm happy to answer questions.
But, that's wonderful.
Any of these kinds of things.
That's just wonderful. This book, Castle Bravo, you take a lot of excuse me, you take actual facts, and then you write a book of fiction with the actual facts inside of them.
Well, that's right. It's sort of funny when you put it that way because one of my books, I got lucky, was featured on the Today Show one time, and they did make the comment that since there's so much real life experience, things that did happen in the White House and so forth, and research in the books, they said instead of calling these novels fiction, maybe we should call them faction. I thought it was kind of a cool line. I thought that was great. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, that's a pretty good name, faction. Yeah.
Well, that's right. And this particular story of Castle Bravo was inspired by a conversation that I had and research I had done, of course. It involves missile defense. Now, people say, oh, that's kind of an esoteric situation. But, of course, when I was in the Reagan White House, I watched all of this unfold because President Reagan was so taken with the idea of trying to create a system to stop a missile. Right at the time, you may remember back, some of your listeners may, that at the time, of course, the Soviets were perceived as the enemy then, and of course they had a huge arsenal of nuclear weapons. Well, they still do. But then our policy was something called mutual assured destruction, or the MAD doctrine, which said in effect that if a missile were lobbed our way by the Soviets or anybody else, or even by mistake, it would kill millions of innocent people, of course, and all we could do, even if it had a return address, would be to lob one back at their innocent people. And Reagan looked at all of this many, many times. He said, look, this is not the way I want to work with our foreign policy. And he said, wouldn't it be better, after looking at all this and talking to a lot of the generals, he said, wouldn't it be better to task our best scientific minds, our best technology people, to see if they couldn't figure out a system whereby they could stop a missile before anybody dies. And his great line was, wouldn't it be better to save lives than avenge lives? So I watched him as we saw all of this unfold with all the arguments in Washington. And, of course, a lot of fits and starts. But now, oh, my goodness, I wish Reagan were alive today to see that his dream is working. You know, George, we've had some 52 tests against ballistic missile targets, successful tests. And we now have developed an airborne laser. We have interceptors that they shoot them off of ships, you know, the Aegis system. We're working with countries all over the world. And to go back to the premise of Castle Bravo, now, I had this conversation with a major general who was head of our whole missile defense system worldwide. And he said, let me paint a scenario for you to show you why we really need to expand our missile defense system. I said, okay, well, everybody knows, you know, there's North Korea, there's Iran, or what? He said, yes, but let me go a little bit into the future. He said, just imagine that it's a few years down the road, and there's some group, bad guys, or some country doesn't like us, and somehow they've got hold of a small nuclear device. Doesn't have to be that big. And you know they're all trying. I mean, proliferation is a huge issue. Okay, and let's also say that they have somehow got hold of a delivery vehicle. It could be as simple as a Scud missile. You could strap it on and, shoot it off. Okay. Now, a Scud missile is something that I discovered you can buy on the black market for a black market arms dealer for about $100,000. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, some guy tried to sell one on eBay a while ago. They caught that guy. Okay, so let's say they're off our coast in a disguised fishing boat of some sort. You never find them. And their plan is not to aim it at San Francisco or New York or Delaware where you're located, which would be absolutely devastating, of course. No, what they're planning to do is shoot it straight up in the air and detonate it way up in the atmosphere. It could be 50 miles up, way up. Scud goes farther than that. And now what that would do, that doesn't kill the people on the ground. Not right then, no, it doesn't. What happens is, envision, if you will, an explosion way up there. It sends out shock waves. Think of kind of microwaves emanating out from that blast. What those are called, it's an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. You say, well, so what? It's way up there. I mean, who cares? Well, we care because that EMP effect is that it fries all of the electronics on the ground in its line of sight, which would be huge. You'd cover maybe the whole western half of the United States, whatever. Now, you would have no electricity grid, no communications, cell phones, internet, ATMs. You'd have no sanitation, refrigeration, transportation, aviation. He looked at me and he said, Karna, it would set us back to the year 1910. And don't think other countries aren't looking at this. Because they are. We know that. They're researching. We are too. And so I thought, I have to write a story about this. I really do. So I did a ton of research. And I found out that our scientists first learned about this. I mean, this is not new. It learned about this EMP pulse idea many years ago. Back in the 50s and 60s, we did a lot of atmospheric testing of nuclear weapons after World War II. Kind of, don't mess with us, look what we have.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't do that anymore. But the Soviets did the same thing, way over, but they did it over land. A lot of people were hurt. At least we moved the natives off the islands, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we did it out in the Marshall Islands, Eniwetok, Bikini Atoll, places like that. And one of those bombs went off higher up, creating this EMP effect. And some 2,000 miles away in Hawaii, the lights dimmed and communications were screwed up. Now, they looked around and said, well, wait a minute, when the blackout, what's going on? Oh, my God, that's the very moment that weapon was tested way the heck far away, but up high in line of sight. And that was way, 50 years ago, okay, or more. So of course we know about it, but now it is a real threat. It is a real threat. So you say, what do you do? Well, first, you write a book about it. Okay, that's the story of Castle Bravo. And in this story, my heroine, Samantha Reed, who appears in the previous book, Final Finesse as well, she is the character. She is the director of the White House Office of Homeland Security. So she gets intelligence that other countries are looking at this whole thing. She's very concerned about it, tries to get higher-ups to focus. Of course, they don't. They're worried about other things. And, it's all based on truth. We have had an EMP commission, George, and they testified before Congress several times. But then, it costs money to harden the grid and all this and that, and we don't have any budget left, and let's not worry about it today. Mm-hmm. We got other things to worry about. They put it off, right? And sure, certain things are hardened, certain of our military communications and Air Force One and things like that. But, hey, what about the rest of us?
Right.
So you've got the story. And the love of her life in the book is sent overseas on a business trip over to a more remote area where just such an occurrence happens by mistake, where they're testing some stuff. Now, does he get out of there? Does he, well, don't be too sure. And the people over there see that they have a fancy new weapon that they realize what the reaction is, and they're about to target the United States. So what are we going to do about it? That's the story of Castle Bravo.
If countries have been experimenting with this for 50 years or more,
Well, as you was that the question? I kind of didn't quite hear you there.
No, if countries have been experimenting with this for 50 years or more,
Hmm.
uh, is there anyone that actually has the capability yet that you know of?
Well, sure. I mean, here's the thing: if you, a lot of countries have nuclear weapons,
Mm-hmm.
and if you send a nuclear weapon straight up, you're going to get an EMP effect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nobody's stupid enough to do that. We don't do atmospheric testing anymore. We do it underground if they test at all. But people do know now. We have developed, and I'm sure others have as well, what we call e-weapons, electronic weapons that mimic the effect on a very small scale. In other words, not using nuclear materials, but using other kinds of microwaves to get the same effect. For example, a couple of weeks ago, Boeing staged a test of a new device that they've invented, they're defense contractors. And what they did, and it's public, I mean, I got the press release. What they did was they had this building, and they filled it with old computers and all kinds of stuff, electronics and whatnot. And then they took their weapon way out, far away, and they aimed these special microwaves at the building, and then set it off, and then went inside to see what happened. And all the computers were fried. Even the TVs that were recording it were all fried.
Mm.
So, hey, it works. And in fact, at the beginning of the Iraq War, we did use a type of a very, very small e-weapon because we knocked out Saddam's military communications.
Mm-hmm.
So we know how to do it, and you can be darn sure that a lot of other people know how to do it too. It's just that no one has attacked anyone, in general with these kinds of things because the retaliation would be incredible. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't pay attention. We should pay attention. And so I write these stories, and there's a love interest woven in here, and there's a lot of political intrigue. And I remember that someone else named George Bernard Shaw, once said, "The best way to get your point across is to entertain." That's what I'm trying to do. You write a good mystery thriller, get people excited about the story, but then they kind of get the point that, oh my gosh, this really is something we got to worry about. This is a threat. Let's call attention to it, and let's get government working on this sort of thing. So that's what Castle Bravo is all about.
While we have you here, I want to ask you this. What was it like the day that President Reagan and James Brady and the police officer that was there, what was it like that day when they were shot?
Well, let me tell you, George, at the time, of course, that was just 9 weeks into the administration, very, very early on. We were still kind of learning our jobs and all that sort of thing, if you can imagine. It was March 30th, 1981. And he was sworn in on January 20th, of course. I was actually scheduled to be in the car with Jim Brady that day on March 30th, heading to the Hilton Hotel for that speech. But because I was his deputy at the time, that was my job, deputy press secretary. But at the last minute, I remember standing in front of Jim Brady's desk there in the West Wing press office, talking about all the work I had to do, and there's press calls to be returned, and a lot of stuff going on. And he said, "Oh, listen," he said, "this is no big deal. Yeah, it's a little speech over the Hilton Hotel or the union group, no big deal. There's another speech tomorrow. I can handle this one by myself." He was going to go anyway. He said, "Why don't you stay here and you do the work? You return the press calls and all this other stuff, and you handle the speech tomorrow, and I'll see you." And so off they went. And I would have been standing right next to him when they walked out of the Hilton, and of course that's the moment that John Hinckley fired those 6 shots in 3 seconds, combat style, using a devastation bullet that we found out, he thought it was going to explode inside the victim. Now, the only reason it didn't was he was using a smaller gun at 22.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an unbelievable time for all of us. I'll bet you and most of your listeners even remember where you were.
Oh, yes.
You heard the news. Do you remember where you were?
I remember exactly where I was, just like I remembered the day that President Kennedy was assassinated.
Exactly. And where were you, or what were you doing when you heard
I
about
was
President Reagan?
I was standing in the kitchen, and I was between the living room and the kitchen, in the doorway.
Right.
And the television was in the far corner, and I just happened to have it on.
Right.
And then it was announced that President Reagan had been shot.
Unbelievable. Well, right then, and I talk about this when I give speeches around the country, because people do ask, just like you just asked. Since I was there, and then I ended up spending the day actually in the Situation Room, taking notes and whatnot, when the other members of the cabinet gathered, and there was so much going on at the time. And people say, what's going on? Well, of course, we had people over at the hospital monitoring every moment of what was going on there, and then other people dealing with the Hinckley situation, and others dealing all over the world. You say, all over the world? What do you mean all over the world? Well, here's the situation. At first, ignore that noise. There's others trying to call into here. At first, there were concerns, because we didn't know, for example, whether Hinckley was just one lone crazy gunman, or whether maybe he could be part of some group. Maybe they were going to target other officials.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, was everybody else safe? We were notifying congressional leaders, keep them apprised of everything. Then you have to wonder, well, gee, could there be maybe some international group? You don't know. You want to be sure. So we were in touch there in the Situation Room. They were in touch with the Secret Service, the protective detail, of course, of other world leaders, for Peter Trudeau and Margaret Thatcher and Mitterrand and others, to make sure everybody was safe. I mean, you don't know. You want to make sure the other way, and of course they were. But I just mean all this was going on, and then monitoring what was going on at the hospital. Now, at the hospital, a lot of reports came out of there. Lynn Nafziger was over there. Jim Baker was over there, chief of staff. And reports came back and forth. And what we learned, for example, when Reagan, when he gets out of the car, they peel up to the hospital. He gets out of the car, and always cognizant of his position as president. The man gets out, he stands up, he's been shot, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He stands up, he tries to button his coat, right, and walk into the hospital. When he got to the door, he collapsed. I mean, it's unreal. So they do a quick exam and all this kind of stuff. Well, at first, they didn't realize that he had been shot, because the bullet that actually hit the president, we figured out later from film analysis and so forth, that bullet hit the car first, and it kind of skittered along the edge of the car. And in that trajectory, it kind of flattened out a little bit. And so when it hit the president, it kind of went in, making more of a slit, kind of went in like a thin dime rather than making a round bullet hole.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, there wasn't just a typical bullet wound looking when the doctors did the initial exam. Well, of course, later they figured it out, and what we found out after the surgery, but never really announced to the nation. George, do you know that bullet was lodged 1 inch from President Reagan's heart? 1 inch. Okay. Now, in the midst of this unbelievable crisis situation, Reagan, and you heard the reports, when he's conscious, he has a sense of humor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nancy rushes in. You remember the lines? And he looks up in the gurney and says, "Honey, I forgot to duck."
Yes.
we announced all these things. As soon as we learned stuff, we announced it. And we found out that actually was a line that he remembered that Jack Dempsey, the prize fighter, had used after a knockdown, drag-out fight. And then later, they're wheeling him into the operating room. And Reagan looks up, and the doctors are all hunched over, wheeling him in there and everything. It's all a very grave situation. And he looks up at him, he says, "Hey, I hope you all are Republicans."
I remember,
and
yeah.
Remember that? And they kind of looked down and said, "Sir, today we all are." Well, of course they weren't, but, who cares? I mean, they did a wonderful job. They were terrific. And he actually maintained a correspondence with those doctors for his whole 8 years. It was kind of amazing. He wrote letters all the time. So then later, I did hear some cute stories. about what happened afterwards. He woke up in the recovery room, and he couldn't talk. Initially, they had tubes down his throat, so he couldn't talk right away. And he motioned that he wanted to write something down, so they handed him a tablet and a pencil. And he had, when he woke up, he had looked up. He saw a white ceiling and white walls and this beautiful nurse. They found a really good-looking nurse, George, let me tell you. Good-looking nurse standing next to him, holding his hand. So he jots down, "I'm alive, aren't I?" Not too sure about that. And then later he wrote down, "If I'd had this much attention in Hollywood, I'd still be there." And then this nurse was so attentive and sweet to him and everything. He jots down, "Does Nancy know about us?" You know? I mean, the man was amazing. Here he is. You know, he's been shot and all that. But in any event, it was an incredible day. And Bush, the vice president, was down in Texas giving a speech at the time. Of course, got hold of him immediately. We rushed him on Air Force Two to get back, and he got back to the White House. My recollection was it was around 6 or 6:30 that evening, and so he took over, and he was very calm, terrific, reviewed everything. By then, of course, Reagan was out of surgery, and we prayed that it went okay. And the others, of course, it was a very tense situation with Jim Brady and with the others who had been wounded as well. But by then, all of the congressional leaders had been notified and all that sort of thing. So things began to wind down. I didn't leave probably till 10 o'clock that night. They brought in sandwiches and stuff. But that was an incredible day. And yes, we all remember.
What was the deal with General Haig?
I knew that it would because people asked that. Well, I'll tell you, I know people may have different views on that, but as I saw it, sitting over there in the corner, not making much noise, just taking notes and stuff, the situation was that we had all the TV sets were on because people were getting different reports from different places. So we're monitoring TV, even at the same time we're feeding them information, of course. And at one point, everybody looked up, and there was a briefing going on. Of course, the press room was all going crazy. They're screaming questions about everything. And the other deputy press secretary was up there trying to do a briefing, but he didn't have all the facts. He'd been in the room a little bit, but he was kind of scrambling to try to answer some of these questions being shouted at him. And someone shouted and said, "Who's running the country?" And this particular press officer looked up and said, "I can't answer that question at this time." Well, in my view, and the view of the others in the sit room, that was the wrong answer because, quite frankly, the entire cabinet was gathered. They were dealing, as I indicated, with the international situation, with the congressional situation, monitoring the hospital. It was very orderly, and Al Haig, Secretary of State, was sitting at the head of the table running the meeting. So he looked up, all concerned. Cap Weinberger, Secretary of Defense, looked up, all concerned. Dick Allen, the National Security Advisor, looked up, all concerned, said, "Oh, my God, they're scaring the country. We got to put a stop to this briefing." That was the whole point. So several pushed back from the table and ran out of the Situation Room and there is a stairway. You have to go upstairs to the press room. And poor Al Haig had just had, a triple bypass or something like that, and he was excited and his face was a bit red, but the point he was trying to make, what he was trying to do, was to calm things down and stop the briefing and try to explain to the press that actually things are being handled in a very businesslike, sensible way in the Situation Room, trying to calm everything down. So that's why he ran up there. Now, he made mistakes in the heat of the moment. The one mistake he certainly made, and that was using the word constitutionally. Because he said something to the effect, well, constitutionally, it's the president, vice president, secretary of state, and of course he was wrong. It's president, vice president, speaker of the House, speaker pro tem of the Senate, and then later, he would be first in line of the cabinet members.
Mm-hmm.
So here in this incredible situation, that's what happened. But I believe his motives were correct at the time, and I was sorry to see that he was pilloried over that small situation.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was trying to start a coup or anything like that.
No. We saw it pan out. He didn't choose his words as carefully as he should, but neither did the press officer. So there you are. That's the way I saw it. But in any event, we were all greatly blessed because Reagan was able to make a full recovery, and it was not as blessed for dear Jim Brady, who we all loved, and we called him the Bear as a nickname, like Teddy Bear.
Mm-hmm.
And a great guy, and he really was terrific. And he retained the title press secretary for the whole 8 years, always did. And in fact, they renamed the press room the James Brady press room. So that was that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So
we sure
wild
could,
times. Let me tell you,
we sure
wild
could.
times.
We sure could use President Reagan right about now.
Well, I agree with you.
I'm just saying,
of course, I'm a Reagan Republican, so I have to tell you that when I got word of this, of the election results, I've been so depressed I should be on Cymbalta, crazy drug for depression. But in any event, no, I think people talk about what do you do now, and I hope, well, for one thing, all that's going on in Washington with a fiscal cliff and all the rest of it, I just pray that they can get their act together and figure something out. I don't think they should do it too quickly. I think it would be good to make a small down payment, perhaps, on some cuts that would be reasonable. And then when the new Congress is sworn in, then they have more time to very carefully look at taxes and expenditures and so forth, that they would put a decent package together. It's very hard to do in a couple of weeks before Christmas.
And we are, we are in this position because we kept kicking the can down the road, as they say.
Well, of course, and we've heard that term so much, it's just incredible. And of course, with the sequestration that they're talking about, that would take effect if no agreement is reached. One thing that you can imagine concerns me a lot, and that is the automatic cuts, if they don't reach some sort of agreement, to the defense budget.
Oh, yes.
Now, they wouldn't happen right away, but I saw a recent study by George Mason University about how those cuts would affect different states. Now, I'm down here in Florida right now, and if they did put the cuts in that are there, and the Democrats are trying to cut defense a lot. You can make some cuts, sure, but you can't decimate it. They've already cut $500 billion out, and they want to cut another $500 billion. Just here in Florida alone, they're talking about losing some 42,000 defense-related jobs, and it's close to $3 billion in wages and so forth. Now, other states, for example, Colorado would lose 18,500 jobs. Arizona, 35,000 jobs. Virginia, of course, has tons of defense-related activities there. They're talking about $7.2 billion in lost wages. It's just wild. 39,000 jobs in Pennsylvania. I mean, there are interests in practically every state with some sort of defense connection for contractors or product or something. So they've got to look at this very, very carefully, and congressmen, both Republicans and Democrats, have to know that. So that's a big deal. And of course, from my standpoint, since I'm concerned about missile defense, I just hope they don't cut the missile defense budget. It's very, very small. In fact, it's about $9 billion worldwide. Now, think about it. I ran some numbers knowing I was going to be doing some radio interviews. That's 0.014% of the Pentagon budget. And look at what we're talking about, saving lives. And in fact, even just this week, look at what's going on over in the Middle East.
Yes. With
Israel and Gaza and those rockets being fired. And Israel, it's incredible. They've got this missile defense system called Iron Dome. And in fact, I just looked at a video a few minutes ago that was a video taken from Israel showing up in the sky, the night sky, all these rockets and then the Iron Dome interceptors knocking them down before they hit populated areas. It's incredible. It works, and it's a small system because these just smaller rockets, of course, that are just being aimed willy-nilly all over the place. And they have a way of analyzing the trajectory and whether it would be aimed at a population center, in which case they send up the interceptors. If it's just going, out into a field someplace, they don't bother. They focus on the ones heading more toward the cities, of course. And it's working. I mean, they've got some terrific technology over there. And we're seeing it play out in real time every single day. It's wild.
Yes.
It really is.
My dad told me when I was a young fellow, Israel is probably, Israel was born in May, and I was born in September of 48. But before we had cable TV and all the things we have today, my dad used to tell me, keep your eyes on Israel. Now, this was before there was any, instant thing that we could look at and see what's going on somewhere else in the world. We only had radio, one channel on the TV, and a newspaper.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't figure out for the longest time why he kept telling me to look to Israel, watch Israel. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm 64, I'm finally getting it. Keep your eye on Israel. Everything is drawn toward Israel. Mm-hmm. Do you think that this administration will back Israel all the way, or are we going to bail out on her?
Well, it's hard to say because what backing all the way really means. They're giving lip service to it. They're saying that we will stand with Israel, and they're saying, Hillary's over there saying, of course, they have the right to defend themselves. Everybody will say that. And they're pushing for some sort of a truce, but the problem is what they're looking for, what Israel really needs, is a long-term solution. You can't just have a truce that gives them another week or two to put some more rockets together, mm-hmm. which is what they usually do. And when you say, "Well, we stand with them," there are questions. Are we going to keep? Are we going to keep giving billions of dollars to Egypt, which is now siding a little bit more with the folks over in Gaza, as we've heard? Mm-hmm. How are we going to manage that? Have we made any comments to them? I doubt it. That you better stand down, or you could lose some of this aid we're giving you. Haven't heard anything about that. I don't know how active we're going to be. I'm worried about it. I really am. You probably are too, right?
Yes. It's with each thing that takes place. Every time this happens, I think each time gets more intense. Mm-hmm. This is more intense than the last time.
Well, right. And it's very, very concerning because that whole area is of course, quite the tinderbox. But Israel's doing a pretty good job protecting itself right now, and we pray that they're able to do that and that they will figure something out, some sort of a truce or stand down or something, as soon as they possibly can to save lives. Well, save lives on both sides, of course. So I don't know. But if you're it would be interesting if your listeners have questions about these things, about Israel or missile defense or the White House or President Reagan. I would love to answer any questions they might have if you have chat going on. What is the how do people do that? How do they? They
come into the chat room, and then I've got a little dooflicky here that they will type something into, and I see it, and then I would ask you the question, and they can hear you, and
okay.
It goes something like that. So.
Oh, very good. Okay, so that's perfectly obvious. If someone is tuned in, they can see it on their computer screen. Mm-hmm. They can see where they can chat right away. Is that correct? If
they come through the Spreaker network and right onto my page, then they have the chat room available. If they go to our blog, they can go to the chat room. They just have to, sign in and give themselves a screen name, so on and so forth. But once they're in there, they can see what's going on. What I type back to them, they can hear what's going on, me, you, whoever.
Mm-hmm. Well, very good. Okay, so if somebody wants to ask a question, I'm very glad to answer them. We'll see. But you asked about, after the election and how are we going to handle certain things? Right now, in addition to this whole fiscal cliff situation that is going on in Washington, I know there are a lot of people who were Republicans, like I am, that are very concerned, of course, with all of these issues. But I think the important thing to do now, you say, well, what do we do now? Okay, what do we do now? Instead of just going through the postmortems, they're going to analyze what went wrong, what policies need to be changed. They're going through all that. But what I would prefer to do right now is to look ahead and be constructive and say, all right, the next opportunity we have to make our points and to get some more supporters for our points of view, of course, is 2014. And I note that in 2014, the senators that are up for re-election, there are 20 Democrats and 13 Republicans. Now, obviously, Republicans can hold those seats and could possibly pick off maybe 3 or 4 of the Democratic seats. Then Republicans would control the Senate. They could stop any further legislative inroads that President Obama might want to make, and they could protect the Supreme Court. So what do you think the chances are of something like that happening?
After this last election, I'm really worried. I would hope something like that happens, but I'm really concerned.
Well, they have to work very hard, and they know that, to attract some really good candidates, very strong candidates who are smart, have moderate views, and so forth, not fringe types that are going to get people upset or say stupid things, like we had a few that were up before. And I think that's very doable. The thing is, looking ahead, even looking ahead to 2016, we have a tremendous bench, so to speak. We have some very smart people out there that have done a great job and have been elected overwhelmingly. Terrific Republicans, especially governors. When you look, you've got Governor Walker of Wisconsin, you've got Nikki Haley of South Carolina, you got Mike Pence, who was newly elected in Indiana, you've got Chris Christie, of course, then you got a number of senators, Pat Toomey, you've got Rob Portman in Ohio, you've got Marco Rubio, who's still at Paul Ryan, of course, in the House. There's some very strong spokesmen, very reasonable people. You wouldn't say any of them as some far-out wacko. They're very reasonable and very, very smart and very dedicated to our free enterprise system. So I'm very hopeful looking down the road.
Let me ask you this, because this when we're sitting in our own life space, we'll call it a life space, when we're moving about, doing our thing, going to work, so on and so forth, and these politicians are digging their heels in at this and digging their heels in at this. Here's something that I don't understand, or I can't accept.
What's that?
When the liberals, just like the spending cut, the taxes, bringing down our defense, and it goes on and on and on and on. I'm sorry, but no one can tell me that they don't know exactly what they're doing to the country. And I often ask, why? Why do they do this? Is it party loyalty? Is it follow the leader? They know their policies don't work, but yet they're hell-bent on just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. I just can't believe they believe it themselves.
Well, George, they do. I think if you look at the split that we have in the country today, half the country does appear to believe that government, more government, is what they want. They believe government is more, quote, fair. We all believe in equality of opportunity, but a lot of people are looking for a little bit more equality of outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking to government to tilt the playing field, so to speak, not really level it. And that's very unfortunate because, as you say, it doesn't work. we really should look at history and say what works and what doesn't work. And what we know from history, for example, is that every time the government has cut tax rates across the board for everybody, the lower people, the middle people, the upper people, the job creators, for everybody across the board, whether it was Kennedy tax cuts, the Steiger tax cuts, both Democrats, the Reagan tax cuts, and initially the Bush tax cuts, revenues into the government actually increase. It's counterintuitive. Cut taxes, you're going to get more money out of it. Hey, how does that go? Well, it goes that way because there's more economic opportunity. If the store owner can pay less into the government in taxes, he has a little extra money, maybe he can hire another clerk.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that clerk is paying a lower rate, but they weren't paying at all before because they didn't have a job. Now they have a job, so they're paying. And this is exactly what happened in the Reagan days when he cut tax rates and cut a deal with Congress to do that by 25% marginal tax rates across the board for everybody. Some 18 million new jobs were created, and revenues into the government actually doubled. Now, somebody say, well, isn't it run a deficit or something? The problem is when money comes in, lots of times the Congress will spend it, and the Democrats did. And, of course, we had the build-up with the Soviets and problems and so forth. But the point is that every time you cut tax rates, revenues increase. So you would think that if Obama and the Democrats want more money to apply to the deficit or even to spend more money on programs they want to spend, you'd think they would take a page out of history, cut rates all across the board, get the economy booming again, get credit for that, but that isn't what they want to do.
You see,
that isn't what they want to do. And it's crazy. I remember, George, during the 2008 election build-up, during the campaign, I think Obama was, the press loved him, of course, and helped him a lot. But there was one rather tough question by a reporter at ABC, and I was surprised the question was even asked, and that's why I remembered it. And the questioner said at one point, just about what I just said, it said, well, Senator Obama, looking back in history, every time rates have been cut across the board for everybody, revenues have increased in the government. So wouldn't you like some more revenues for your programs? Then you'd cut for everybody, not just the people under 200,000, which is what you've been talking about. And his answer was very telling. You know what he said? His answer, George, was, no, that's not my concern. My concern is fairness. Well, there you have it.
You see, here's my bottom line. Now, these birds, they either have severe brain damage and just don't get it, or there's an agenda to take this country in a direction that's not good for the country and it's going to bring us down.
Well, I think I'm going to be charitable here. I think there are many liberals who are very well-meaning, and they say, well, we want to be more fair, we got to help these people and so forth. The real problem is, what's the best way to help someone who maybe needs a little bit of help? Well, obviously the best welfare program is a job.
Right.
And what we'd like to do is to improve the education system, whereas the unions have been fighting us on that all the way along. They're still teaching the way they did 100 years ago, practically. They don't look at innovation. They don't look at charter schools. They don't that much. They don't look at all kinds of voucher systems that could improve and bring a lot more competition to the system. So we wanted to have better education. We want to have job creation, but they think they have a better way to do it, which is very unfortunate. Now, I don't know. I write about all these things in my books. I really do. They're not terribly political, but they're not totally politically correct either. I will say that. So I have some of these arguments and some of these issues in my novels, in my political thrillers. And I know we started talking about that in our initial discussions, but again, I'd just like to remind your listeners, if they'd like to check out a political thriller, maybe for a Christmas gift or something like that, check out the website, KarnaBodman.com, and shoot me an email or see what's there. There are 4 different stories along with a short story. And the new one is called Castle Bravo. And it's out in hardback, trade paperback, audio, Kindle, Nook. I think every format there is. I haven't thought of a format that's not it. So I sure hope that someone will check out Castle Bravo, and maybe they would, maybe they'd like to read the story or give it as a gift for Christmas. That would be nice.
It'll get them to think. You know.
I certainly hope so. I really do. Well, George, listen, it's really been fun chatting with you. I know I've got to get to another dinner, but I certainly appreciate the opportunity to chat with you, and hopefully some of your listeners, maybe they're tuning in, and maybe sometime we can chat again in the future.
Oh, I would like that very, very much.
Terrific.
I thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, and good luck to you and this new program of yours.
Thank
All
you.
the best to you.
Thank
and
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
You got it. Okay.
Bye-bye. All right. There she was. Karna Bodman, former senior director of the National Security Council under President Reagan. Boy, there's so many questions that you have, and so little time to ask such questions. But it was indeed a privilege to listen to this lady. She's been there, done that. That's the real definition of been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Well, that was just wonderful. You're listening to the George Espinlove Show. And the loons here at the Funny Farm Radio Studio are just loony. You know what I'm saying? But of course, that's what happens here at the Funny Farm. Our many, many thanks to Karna Bodman for being with us tonight. She was the Senior Director of the National Security Council under President Reagan. She was a Deputy Press Secretary, and she was the highest ranking woman on the White House staff. And she's a best-selling author, and she writes those political thrillers. Go to her website, write this down, or go there while you're listening to this show, be it on your iPhone or your tablet or your computer or going down the road and you got your car hooked up and all those good things. Go to Karna, that's K-A-R-N-A, Bodman. Karna, KarnaBodman.com. And there you can see all the books that she has written, those political thrillers. She takes facts and puts them in and puts a story around them, a fiction. And what was it they wanted to call it? Factual. But it is delight. She knows what goes on the inside. And she took time to come and be with us tonight. If you want to contact her, go to her website. There is her email address, Karna@KarnaBodman.com. Karna@KarnaBodman.com. And there you can contact her. If you have questions for her, email her. If you don't want to email her and you have questions, email me and I'll see that she gets them. GeorgeCE@Comcast.net. That's GeorgeCE@Comcast.net. The chat room is open. If you have some questions, come in, and we'll make sure that Karna gets them, and I'm sure that she will respond. Just a delightful guest. We had so much fun, and time went by so fast. So one more time, thank you, Karna, for coming and spending the evening with us here. Where are we going now? What are we going to do here? Doop. To all my friends that's down the street, around the corner, across this great nation, and around the world, I want to say happy holidays. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And my, we have so very, very much to be thankful for. And please take time just to bow your head and say a word of thanks. We are a blessed people. So to all of our friends, I wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving, a time where you can spend it with your family, and a time where you can sit back and reflect on all of the blessings that's been bestowed upon us here in this great country. Charlie said he wants to play that again. Don't ask me why, but he's got the button, so have at it, Charlie. Charlie, is there any certain reason why you, any special reason why you wanted to play that again? Uh-huh. Well, yeah. You got to give it time to develop there, old buddy. Right. Uh, you see, we want to thank our friends down at musicalley.com because that's where we get a lot of our music from that we play here on the show. And that young lady that sang that song, Rollin', her name is Maria Dane. And Charlie, because Charlie goes and searches for the music that we play on the show. When he found Maria Dane, he came to me and he said, "Pops, we've got to get this lady on our show." So sometimes he gets a little exuberant, a little ahead of himself, and he thinks as soon as he says we got to get this lady on the show, she should pop up and be sitting in the guest chair talking to us. Well, it just don't work that way. And he gets so what's the word? He gets so excited that just knowing or just thinking that we're going to be able to get this particular person on the show, he just gets so excited. He goes out there somewhere, but that's why he wanted to play it again. He's got other ones. He said he's got other ones over there on the board by Maria Dane. I don't know why I just didn't keep on going, but no, he wanted to play that one. But anyhow, thanks to Maria Danes and thanks to musicalley.com. Pay them a visit. I know that you'll be delighted. Now, Charlie, you got me all mixed up like always. Oh, this is what I wanted to tell you. Go to Karna Bodman. That's Karna Bodman or Bodman. Karna Bodman, KarnaBodman.com. And there you can see the books that she has written. Her newest book, Castle Bravo. You can get it in the Kindle form. You can just click right there. I did it just a second ago where it says Kindle. Just click on it. Takes you to Amazon. $6.99. Or if you want, if you have a Nook, click on the Nook. And it'll take you to Barnes & Noble, $6.99. So you can get any format that you want. Just go and get it. They are political thrillers with facts in the middle, and there's a story around them. So besides, it'll get you thinking, and we sure do need some genuine, real thinkers right now in this country. So do yourself a favor. That's KarnaBodman.com. Go there, and I know you won't be disappointed. Okay. Give me my paper, Charlie. Yep. Thank you. I want to give a big shout out to Soul Dancer. That's his name, Soul Dancer. That is his real name, Soul Dancer. He's from Hawaii. He wrote the book. He's the author of the book, Pay Me What I'm Worth. And I want to give a big shout out to him, a very special person. And then I want to give a big shout out to Lillian Caldwell, who is the CEO, the owner of, the founder of PWR Talk Radio. I give her a big shout out. She's up there in Michigan. Let's see, who else? What was it, Charlie? To all our friends and family up there in and around, above, under, yeah, in Altoona, Pennsylvania. We wish you the best for the holidays. Wish we could be there, but it don't look like we're going to be there this year. But we wish you the best. Give us a call. Give us a text. There's more ways you can communicate with people nowadays. You can shake a stick at. Where am I at? What am I doing? Where are we going? Email me. GeorgeCE@Comcast.net. That's GeorgeCE@Comcast.net. Email us. We are looking forward to tomorrow night. Who we got coming? Let me get the little gizmo here. Let's see. Oh yeah. We have Leroy Hypo Brother Williams. Yeah, that's who we got. Leroy Hypo Brother Williams. I think you're going to enjoy it because he is a comedian. And, you know, laughter is good medicine. It's good medicine for the soul. So tomorrow night, tune in for Leroy Hypno. That's what it is. Leroy Hypno Bro Williams. He's a stand-up comedian, and we'll have more on that on our news page and on Facebook and Twitter and Stumble Over and Trip Over and Tumble Upon and, you know, all them media outlet things that we're hooked up with. So tune in tomorrow night. Wow. Listen, if you know of someone that missed the live version tonight, call them, email them, get in touch with them somehow, some way, and tell them to listen to tonight's show, even if it's tomorrow. That's the nice thing. They're archived. You can download them. It's free of charge, and get them to listen to tonight's show. We just simply titled it Former White House Staff Member, and then we wrote a little description about Karna Bodman on there. So get them to come in and listen to the show. Oh, we could spend hours talking to her. There is just so many questions that we have. And she could take us so many places. It's so intriguing. And we thank her for being here tonight. All right, Charlie, what are you going to do? Maria Dames. Neat, I guess. What is it? Night for the Lonely, the blues.
These eyes, how they cry. This hurt will never go away without you by my side. This night is for the lonely. I'm broke up all inside. Won't lose another beat. These dreams won't ever be. This game is over incomplete. The day you set me free. This night is for the lonely. And the loser is me. When you're gonna feel a liar's pain? Am I gonna see your cheating face again? Didn't something ever break you down? I can't come back to the surface. I'm going to drown. Not for the lonely. These lips can't make you kiss me back. These arms can't fold around you. Every time we're sitting down the track, it's hard to be a blind fool. This night is for the lonely. Not so kind to be cruel. When you're gonna feel a liar's pain? Am I gonna see your cheating face again? Didn't something ever break you down?
Wait for it. The blues. They just get down inside of you. The blues. Now I lost my train of thought. My whole train fell off the track. Boy, oh boy. I'm telling you. I hate when that happens. Sheesh.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Oh, that's wonderful. What if we need the Funny Farm Police, or the Funny Farm EMS, or the fire department? If it's been changed, that's just wonderful. It only happens around here at the Funny Farm. Remember, tomorrow night we're going to have us a stand-up comedian. So come in and sit down. Now, I don't know if he's going to be standing up or he's going to sit down in the chair, but nonetheless, we're going to have us a stand-up comedian here tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. One more time, I want to say thank you to Karna Bodman. Go to Karna, that's K-A-R-N-A, Bodman, BODMAN.com, KarnaBodman.com, and you can read all about it right there. You can see her books, the political thrillers, and you can get it on Kindle, you can get it on the Nook, you can get the hard copy, you can get it in any format that you might so desire. So go to KarnaBodman.com. Another shout out to Mr. Nelson Trout, who was with us, I think it was was it this week, last Thursday, someday last week. Nelson Trout from up there in New Jersey, not too far away from us, who is a professional musician, songwriter, singer, and he wrote the book entitled Blood on the Ceiling. My, what a tremendous response we have had, not only the night that he was on live, but the listeners that have tuned in since then. So we want to give you a great big shout out up there in New Jersey, Nelson. I hope you're well and everything is going great for you. Then we want to say hello to our friend, Coey Bryce up there in the faraway state of Maine. I'll get it. Up there in the state of Maine. Another professional musician, songwriter, singer. Those fellows can light it up. I'm telling you the truth, they can. I'd like to see what happens if they ever get together and play. And we've got some more. We are trying to track down. We have put the feelers out, and hopefully we can get Maria Danes here. Blues rock. Man, she sings it all. She's from the UK. Makes no never mind. We'll talk to our guest anywhere on this planet, and I hope that we can get her on the show, because I know that you will enjoy her music, and we'll play even more of her music as the days go on. What was the other thing that you wanted me to do, Charlie? Charlie just hands me notes and gives me hand signals. Like, some of them, I have no idea what they are. Some of them, they just right. Why you do that? Just do it then. That lady can just flat out sing. A big shout out to Brenda White. Want to listen to some good shows? She has several shows here on the Spreaker Network. Go to the Brenda White shows at Spreaker.com. You will be thrilled. Several shows that she puts on, so go visit her. Let me say a big shout to Jen out there in Ohio, to Kendra up there in Pennsylvania, to my friend Lou Balls up there in New Jersey. Lou, I hope you're well. Marky Jones from way over there in Nottingham, England. Of course, I said hello to Soul Dancer. I don't know if he's out there in Minneapolis, down in Phoenix, or in Hawaii, where he's really from. But Soul Dancer, my best to you, my friend. Who else we got? Lexis, we give you a big shout out. She's down around the corner. You see, we got people down the street, around the corner, across this nation and around the world. Oliver Jackson, Ollie, he's an old Marine Corps buddy. He's down there in West Virginia. Who else we got here? Bobby Bosman down in Salisbury, Maryland. Connie Newman, she's here in Delaware. Doug, he's over, he's several corners and several streets over and around. Jackie Grissom, I think he's down there in South Carolina. Jackie Grissom, Jeff Rousley, Jeffrey Shields, he's down the street around a whole bunch of corners and then out across the highway and down the straightaway. Malcolm Brooks from Las Vegas. Then there's Soul, and I know I'm going to tear this up, Soul, so forgive me. Soul Knopf, who is up there in Dover, and he is a professional musician, singer, songwriter. He's going to be on the show. So that's who we have. That's who we give the big shout-outs to right now, and of course that changes all the time. We're going to play one more song by Maria Danes at Charlie's insistence. I'm not going to play it. Charlie is. He's the guy that pushes the doodad over there on the whatchamacallit and makes the thingamajig go around and around and around and around. You know what I'm saying? But he going to do that, huh? Pay for this. That's what she said. Maria Danes.
Someone gonna pay for this. Just a matter of time. Someone gonna swing for this. Step over the line. Someone gonna laugh at this when they ought to be crying. Someone's gonna live for this when someone's dying. And I can't live with the death in between. I can't take no more. I don't want to see what I've seen. Someone gonna kill for this when they ought to be living. And someone saves with a fist, dies in the giving. And someone's hands are tied, trying to be free. And all manner of darkness is turning me. And I can't live with the death in between. I can't take no more. I don't want to see what I see, what I see. I've had all I'm gonna take. Keepers of the world all on the maid. Sweeping down the little folks. Sweeping down the little folks. We can't recognize ourselves. Pretty boxes on the shelves. Poison for the little folks. everyone a part of this, seeing it blind. But someone's broken this, and someone's crying, and I can't live with a death in between. Oh, I can't take no more. I don't want to see what I've seen. I can't say all the wishes I dream. I can't break no more. I don't want to see what I've seen, what I've seen. I can't live with a death in between. I can't take no more. I don't want to see what I see, what I see, what I
Well, it's that time. We have had a wonderful, wonderful show tonight. And I want to thank our guest, Karna Bodman, who was the Senior Director of the National Security Council, the highest ranking woman on the White House staff under President Reagan, and now she's the best-selling author and speaker. She speaks all over the country. I thank her for coming. I thank her for being with us. And go to her website, karnabodman.com. Check out her books. They're thrilling. Wherever you're at, whatever you might be doing, whatever you might be going through, there's a whole lot of love coming to you from the Funny Farm. So, if it's nighttime, I trust that you will have a very, very good night. If it's already daytime where you're at, I trust that you'll have a real good day. But regardless, nighttime or daytime, I want you to tune in again tomorrow night. Same time, same station, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right here on the Spreaker Network. Tune in and come and be with us live here at the Funny Farm. Until then, this is George Espinlove saying good night. And God bless you.